All right, good evening, everybody. I think we are live. Brother Marshall, you want to open us up?
Hey guys, thank you. Excuse me. Hey guys, thank you guys for joining us on this extravagant day. Today we'll be interviewing one of our local activists who's played an important role in our community and played a vibrant part in the civil rights movement. And man, I'm excited. I hope you all are excited. We're bringing this platform to you every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we'll have different people that'll be being interviewed, and it will be a time to reflect on where we were and where we have come from. So I hope to see you all around and man, share. Make sure you hit that share button for me.
And we just want to remind all of you to please, along with sharing, make sure you're following us on Instagram, on Facebook. We also sharing this on our YouTube page as well. All you have to do is just type in Omega Chi 1957. That's OMEGACHIE 1957, and then make sure that you're following us. And so, with that, we want to go ahead and welcome our guest for this evening. She's none other than Mrs. Joanne Bland. How you doing, Miss Bland?
I'm just fine. How are you?
Good, 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 good. First of all, thank you so much for being here on today. And of course, thank you so much for being our first guest for such a powerful conversation that we are excited about. So, I guess I kind of asked, can you just sort of, a lot of us, because we generations and we grow. Can you kind of talk about a little bit about who you are a little bit?
Well, I'm Joanne Bland. I was born here in Selma. I grew up in George Washington Carver Homes, and I grew up during the voting rights struggle. That was my younger years. So that's all I remember is struggle. I didn't know it was struggle, but that's all I knew. I thought everybody did the same things that I did: march, go to jail, go to school, have fun, go to jail, march. I thought everybody did the same thing. And I always tell people I had a normal childhood, even though it was turbulent times. Only realized much later that it was anything but normal.
I can imagine. I definitely can imagine that. Brother Marshall, I think I'm gonna throw the next question to you if you want to jump in here.
Hey man, once again we appreciate you being here on this grand occasion. I'm not gonna call you a monumental a monumental activist like I did earlier because you're gonna say I'm trying to call you old, but wisdom is power, and without that wisdom, we aren't here today. So we're truly thankful for you and all you've done for the city of Selma and for our culture and community as a whole. My question for you today, can you describe how being a young girl in Selma was during the Civil Rights Act? Like, how was it? Like was it different from how education is now? How were the restaurants? How was life in general, just being a normal person and wanting to live a normal life?
Well, as I told you, I didn't know I didn't have a normal life. I could tell you how I grew up. Segregation wasn't anything nice, of course. We couldn't try on clothes. We couldn't go in most stores. We had to go into the side doors, especially the drugstores. We couldn't sit at lunch counters. We couldn't drink from certain fountains. And I didn't question that as a kid because it was always like that. I didn't question that until SNCC came to Selma and said it wasn't right. And something somewhere in the deep recesses of my mind, I knew it was not right, but it seemed as though I had accepted it until SNCC came and gave us hope that it didn't have to be like that, that we were human beings too. I remember my grandmother, everybody was talking about getting freedom. Getting freedom. Actually, I thought they were the dumbest old people in America because I already knew that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. It was obvious they didn't know. Well, at that time, Carter's drugstore, and it's still here today, that same Carter's drugstore in the same spot, it had a lunch counter. when in the 60s. And I wanted to sit at the lunch counter because I see those white kids sitting there and it looked like so much fun, licking those ice cream cones and spinning around on those stools. Every time I go by there, I said, Grandma, can we go in and sit at the counter? She told me colored children, that's what we were called then, can't sit at the counter. It didn't stop me from wanting to sit at that counter. Every time I passed by, I'd be peeping in that window, wishing it was me, wishing things would change so I could sit at that counter. But one day, my grandmother was standing in front of Carter's talking to one of her friends. And I was doing what I always do, peeping that window, watching those white kids, wishing it was me. This particular day, my grandmother noticed and she leaned over my shoulder and she pointed through the window to the counter. And she said, when we get our freedom, you can do that too. I became a freedom fighter that day. I understood instantly that the freedom that grandma and her old friends were going for was the good freedom. You know, the one that would let me sit at that counter. I had no idea of the relationship with voting and how voting could get me to sit at that counter. I didn't understand that. I just knew I wanted to sit at that counter and I could be a part of help making that change. So
I love that. I love that. And I know you can't necessarily talk about change for civil rights, voting rights for that matter, without talking about the struggles of what happened in Selma. And most people talk about what happened on March 7, 1965, which of course we all know is Bloody Sunday, but I believe you were there.
yes,
Can
uh,
you sort of kind of take us through that day through your lens and your vantage point?
I had no idea there would be any violence. So I probably wouldn't have gone. I had never experienced violence. We lined up on the playground of George Washington Carver Homes, where the basketball courts were, and led by John Lewis and Hosea Williams, we walked down to the bridge. They say it was approximately 600 of us. That's the part of the movement I really liked, the marching, the singing, not going to school, being with my friends. I liked all of that. So when they left, I got in the line too. And we walked up to the bridge and over it and met a wall of policemen. When I crested that bridge and I could see across, I knew we were not going to Montgomery because I saw the policemen lined all the way across all four lanes. I saw, as I descended further, I saw policemen lining the service roads on both sides, some standing, some sitting on police cars, some sitting on horses. So I knew it further affirmed that we were not going. When that line stopped, John Lewis asked permission to pass. The policeman told him there would be no march between Selma and Montgomery. You have 2 minutes to disperse and go back to your church. And in less than a minute, they attacked. Now, I was too far back in the line to see or hear what was going on. I didn't need to hear it. I knew when John and Hosea got to that line of policemen, one of them would ask permission to pass. It would be denied. John and Hosea would go down on their knees and we would follow suit. One of them would say a prayer. And after prayer, we'd all stand up and go back to where we started from, either plan a new strategy or just regroup and come right back. I'm standing there waiting for the front to go down so I too could kneel. When suddenly I hear gunshots and screams, or what I thought were gunshots and screams. I thought they were killing the people down front. Before we could turn around, it was too late. They came in from both sides, the front and the back, and they were just beating people. Oh, young, black, white, male, female, didn't matter. They were just beating people. People lay everywhere, bleeding, not moving, as if they were dead, and you couldn't stop to help them, or you'd be beaten too. The gunshots I heard, or thought I heard, they were the tear gas canisters being shot into the crowd. Tear gas burned our eyes and got in our lungs. You can't breathe, you can't see, you panic. Oftentimes you run right back to the same people you were running from. If you could outrun those men on foot, you couldn't outrun the ones on horses. Well, horses were afraid. one of my friends said they made races out the horses because the horses were running over people. People were being trampled. The last thing I remember seeing on that bridge that day is this horse and this lady. And I don't know what happened. Did the man on the horse hit her and she fell? Or did the horse run over her? I don't know. I do know as I sit here, almost 56 years later, I can still hear the sound her head made when it hit that pavement. The next thing I remember, I was on the city side of the bridge in the back of a car. And my sister Linda was crying. I thought it was her tears falling on my face. But when I opened my eyes, I saw it was her blood. My 14-year-old sister had been beaten on that bridge and had wounds in her head that required 35 stitches. Yet on that following Tuesday, turnaround Tuesday, when Dr. King came back, I held those same sisters' hand as I followed Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy across that bridge. The same thing happened. The police told Dr. King himself there would be no march, but this time the front went down. And Dr. Abernathy said a prayer, and after prayer, we went back. Dr. King announced that he had applied for a court order that would give us the legal right to walk from Selma to Montgomery if we so wanted to.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question really quick
Sure.
before you, I know Brother Marshall, you about to jump in and ask this next question, but um what do you think was the motivating factor, especially after what happened to your sister and what you witnessed? What was the driving force that made you all want to go back without question and back again? Because we know that turnaround Tuesday, you all kneeled and you turned back, but then you finally got the court order to march from Selma to Montgomery. What was that driving factor after what happened on March 7th?
Well, the court order made it seem like we had accomplished something, right? That now we were free to do to go and do this. But my dad also told me not to be a quitter. He said that if I quit, that means they won. And I'm the middle child, so I can't stand that quitting. I have to win. I have to fight for that win. So even though I was terrified, I went back. And I don't mind telling you, son, that on turnaround Tuesday, when I crested that bridge and saw that same scene, I didn't want any more freedom. I tried to go back. Bravery had nothing to do with it. I tried to go back, but my sisters held my hand and kept talking, trying to coax me across. And
Wow.
finally, I remember one of them saying, "Come on, they're not going to beat Dr. King." I went, but I was still scared.
Wow.
Oh man, Miss Bland, we definitely appreciate you. You marched so people like us could run, and we will continue to run this race in life to make sure that we receive everything that you guys worked hard for. And even though it is 50 to 60 years later, we still are striving to be treated equal and to live a normal life without being mistreated. Um, the next question is dealing with equality. In your own opinion, what would it take, or what should it take for Black people to have true equality, and what role do you feel Selma will play in that pivotal situation?
We have to find a way to overcome these obstacles. And we also have to find a way to get rid of these obstacles. We're going to have to come to the table. First, our problems, a lot of our problems lie within ourselves. And that's just me. And because we've been affected by so much, we got a lot of self-hate that we don't deal with. We have issues that can be easily solved, so we try to do the easy one. And then when the hard ones still affect what you already accomplished, there's no winning. African Americans in the United States have been dealt not a good hand to play with. Since we've been here, we've been since we were stolen from our homeland and brought here, we've been oppressed. And it's time for us to stand up. It's time for We know where we've been, and it's very important that our children learn our history because they have no self-worth when they listen to white European history from the time they start school to the time they start to search out their history themselves. Um, all children are like that. White children are like that. Latino children are like that. And while we've been so graciously given this month for Black History Month, aren't we Black 365? That Black History Month is not for us, it's for them. It's for white folks to appease themselves to say that they gave us something. So we're going to have to learn how to be masters of our own destiny. I'm so proud of the young people now for standing up. You know, the movement in the 60s was fought primarily by women and children. But the people who write our history want you to think we had generals to tell us where to go and where to come. Well, very few heroes, you know. As you notice, we get a hero about every 20 years, a Black hero, and then the next 20, they try to destroy that one. So they don't want you to know their strength. It was the same way in the 60s. I'm so proud of young people, the young people here in Selma, like you call it, organizing and doing things that empower our community. That's where we got to start. And we got to start with the lowest and low. We can't start by looking across. We got to look down and pull people up with us because otherwise it's going to be always somebody trying to pull you back down. We don't need anybody on the bottom of the totem pole.
Listen, I stand on not just your shoulders, but there's so many other people who definitely sort of fed that into me. That it just it means a lot to it's almost like a full circle moment just be sitting here talking to you about this because I know a lot of things that you have dealt with and that you're still dealing with now, which and I'm just full. I'm getting full just listening to so much wisdom and history right now that we have to just be able to get out to our people. And that sort of kind of goes into when we talk about history. I know one of the biggest subjects that we're dealing with today here in Selma is this topic of, whether or not to rename the bridge. And so I'm pretty sure you were a part of the Selma Matters town hall that we did last August that talked about the entire situation with the bridge. And so where are you as far as, with that? Do you think that it erases Selma's history, or is it something that we should definitely at least address or have a conversation? I'd love to hear more of your thoughts about that.
I think we focus on the wrong thing sometimes. Um, I'm totally against renaming the bridge. I know that he's who he is as well as anybody else who is named after. But will that change a heart? In fact, I think it will harden a heart. Will that change a heart? We got to change hearts. We wasted our times with um, trite stuff. That what difference it make what the hell the name the bridge has on it? Plus, it's the only thing that brings people to Selma. Selma has no big industries to employ people. Tourism is going to be our savior if we let it. If we let it. Now, I think there should be some education on that. There should be a big plaque at the bridge telling the truth about who Edmund Pettus was, not just people walking across it. And I remember when they had the NBF home. Remember that out across the river?
Oh yeah.
Were tiny, but nobody knew what NBF stood for. And finally, we could find out it stood for Nathan Bedford Forrest Holmes. And who is Nathan Bedford Forrest? One of the worst racists in America that who ever lived. Yet we worry about renaming a bridge that so much history happened on that. And I'm telling you, And I've seen it happen in my lifetime. When you rename and renew, new history begins. Now, Edmund Pettus was at the courthouse, and I had to walk past him in the courthouse with a Confederate flag. I think I'd be fighting. I know that sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth.
It makes sense. It really makes sense.
Yeah, and I truly believe that if you rename that bridge, new history gonna begin. New history begins, and old history is forgotten. What you gonna name it? The Butterfly Bridge, aka Edmund Pettus?
The Butterfly Bridge.
It's ridiculous to me. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And we all the problems we have within ourselves and in this country, we're fighting over changing the name of a bridge. That's not going to make any hard. That's not going to soften any hearts.
So let me ask you this, because I gotta press on this, because I'm sort of part of the little committee where we've been sort of trying to move on this. Do you think that there is do you think that there is a way where the bridge could possibly, just thinking out loud, is there a way where the bridge could possibly be renamed while still people remembering who Edmund Pettus was and the historical significance and the reason? I'm asking.
No. I mean, if someone could explain that and how it would work, I would be fine. But as you know, we don't know, and you went through our school system,
right?
Public school system here,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, yes.
What Black history you got? Huh? So how they going to include it now? How they going to say, well, Edmund Pettus Bridge was a Confederate general and he was a racist and he was the grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan? Where are they going to write that?
Nowhere.
We need a plaque at the foot of that bridge. That's what we should be fighting for, not the name. Because nobody's glorifying that bridge for Edmund Pettus. They're glorifying that bridge for what happened in 1965. And what happened on the Edmund Pettus Bridge not only changed this hick town, but America.
Most definitely.
All right.
As a history teacher, I definitely concur with how you feel, because once you change something, they may try to bury that history. Even though we have events and the Jubilee and we commemorate what happened, at some point we have to understand that when you change something, all changes in good. And you made reference earlier to something that I thought was impeccable. Like you said, that if they change the name or if they change something, they're just burying what was once there. So they may be trying to recreate some history, and we don't want to recreate history, because the history that we have is ours, and we wanted to maintain the relevance of that history even after my years of living. I want people after me to understand why they are here, who put them here, and who strive to make sure that you can have the rights that you have now.
I want one just like him for Christmas. You don't have to wrap it. You're clear, though. You're clear. Our children are deprived of who they are already. Now, you may say how Edmund Pettus fits into that, but Edmund Pettus is part of us. They don't come to Selma asking who Edmund Pettus was. That's secondary. They came to Selma because what happened on that bridge in 1965. And you change that, you're going to change history. And all of us, it might not be in your lifetime, certainly might not be in my lifetime, but it's going to change. And it's going to be nothing we can do about it because we facilitated the change.
Most definitely. The last question of the night, and we're going to let you enjoy the rest of your night, but just speaking with you and knowing how you just spoke earlier, and this question falls in place. You were saying how women and young children played a pivotal point in the civil rights movement, how the community put men up there as if they did all the work. how important is it that we have a woman in the White House and she's just not playing the wife role? Most women that enter the White House are just wives. Now we have a woman that is in there of our, well, depending on how people in the community say, some say she's not.
Trust me.
I call her black.
She is black.
She's black, but we're some people are fighting the wrong battle with what's going on instead of
that's that self-hate. That's that self-hate I was talking about. I'm extremely proud and to see her there, to see her, as you say, not in wifey role,
right,
as a leader, as the second top person in the United States, and she's a female. Our girls can sit and look at her and aspire to be great. There was a time when Black children could not say, one day you're going to grow up and be president. And we used to tell our boys, yes, you can. You can grow up. But how they were going to believe it when everybody in the White House was white? Then we got Barack. We got Mr. Obama. And then now our girls can see it's possible that you're strong. You could be anything you want to be. Anything that you want to be. Not only can you be the vice president, you could be the president because you're smart and you're beautiful. And that combination works every time. It works every time. And God didn't make any ugly, so I know all our girls can go. I'm proud, extremely proud. I had on my chucks and my pearls when I was sitting in front of that TV like this. Yeah. Sure did. I screamed and screamed. I had no voice when they won. And remember, I don't know, I watched MSNBC, right? And when the returns came in, and they said that it was just this pocket around Atlanta that had not reported. How about I started screaming then?
Y'all know because you know when I'm a black people. You knew when I'm a black people over there, so you already knew.
Right.
All the Black people in the world right around there. So, only 2 of them voted for Trump. The rest voted for Biden Harris. Okay. So I started screaming then because I knew they had won. Even though it took forever for them to count those votes. What a mess we've been in 20. Let's erase that whole year.
But you know what though, Ms. Bland? I tell people all the time the reason it took so long was because you finally are getting people are now actually voting. Because our voter turnout has been so low for years.
Yes.
Because of so many different things, voter suppression, disenfranchisement, people who just don't vote. And so to see people energized about this thing that you all were telling us about when I was at McRae, and I was about 6 years old.
Exactly.
It's amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah, I'm with that. We had a voter registration drive with you guys here at my house, and I was surprised at the people who stopped and registered. People who said, I moved over here last year and I need to change my address. What do I do? I was just so surprised that happened, that so many people in my community, and some had never voted, had never registered. I know there are plenty out there, and we still didn't get them all, so our work is now done. We have to do that again.
Well, whatever we can do as a community to help each other out, Omega Psi Phi will definitely be there to help you in any way. As your local chapter, as Omega Chi, we'll be hand in hand in anything we can do to change the culture in our community and build for a better future.
Thank you. I'm proud of the work I've seen you guys do. I'm proud of you.
That really means a lot. Coming from you, that means so much more than you.
Oh, boy, I've been proud of you all my life. My life, not your life, my life.
Well,
Thank
Ms.
you,
Joanne,
guys.
I just have to say, just thank you so much for just taking the time to speak with us tonight. Really, it definitely means a lot. We appreciate you and this conversation. As Brother Marshall stated earlier, everyone, we do this every Tuesday and Thursday as well. All the way to the Bridge Crossing Jubilee. We got some great people lined up, but we had to start off with the best
Oh,
first.
okay. I'm supposed to say my number talk. Okay. So I'm gonna tell her what she said. Because I'm messy like that. But no, thank you guys for having me. And I'm proud of you guys for even thinking up this series for now. And I hope it becomes a thing all the time, not just during Black History Month, but all the time.
Yes, ma'am. Most definitely. We look forward to just spreading our history, not just for this month, but for years to come.
Exactly. Thank you. In college, you can start by having a Black History fact on your show every time.
And matter of fact, I did it today actually for my
I'm
radio
proud
show,
of you.
believe it or not.
But you know, we got the rest of the year.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
We got the rest of the year.
You are correct. The one thing I agree with what you said though is for me, and I've had white people ask me this as far as they'll what is that we need to do, or what is it about, how can we sort of do X, Y, and Z when it comes to Black America just being Black. And I tell them all the time, the things that you're seeing, the Black History facts, the Black History Month, things of that nature, that's not necessarily for me, because I know I'm Black, I know my accomplishments, I know what my people have done. That's for y'all. And that's for you all to be educated, and for you all to know, and for you all to be aware. And what happened on even the things like that happened on January the 6th, Charlottesville in 2017, stuff like that. These are things that we are already used to seeing from white people, because we're used to it.
Nobody's shocked, but
Y'all are shocked, but we won't.
and I'm pretty sure they aren't really shocked. If you live on this planet, you know that there's injustice, and we're not just crying to be crying, that it really happens. And I think it took the death of that young man in Minnesota, George Floyd, to do that. I think it somewhat raised the conscience of America, that every mother in America heard him calling his mom, and their hearts went out. They felt it in their tummies. So hopefully, if we keep pushing, we got to keep pushing. We can't give up. We got to call a spade a spade. When you see injustice, you got to do something. You got to say something. You can't just let it say, "Oh, that's the way white people do. That's the way it happens." Because if you don't say anything, you're just as bad as they are.
That's true.
And you white people that are listening, I know all of y'all ain't bad, but you can't walk in my shoes. You cannot walk in my shoes. And you need to listen, and then use that privilege that you were afforded by the color of your skin to help me level this playing field. Not fight me on this. Nobody's trying to take anything from you. It's enough for all of us.
I, for one, am grateful for you having the courage to be able to walk and to stand in your shoes to everything that you did. I think Brother Marshall said that earlier. Because if you because you marched, we could run and we can do the things that we're doing now. These are things we don't take for granted either. We recognize the privilege that we have gotten, and still the long way that we have to go. We recognize that. And
yeah, but we're not where we be.
Absolutely.
Just not where we need to be.
Well, we definitely appreciate you, and we just wanted to give you your flowers while you can still smell them, and we just wanted you to know that how much we appreciate you and love you as a whole, and that you played a pivotal role in me being who I am. I take history seriously. Like, my students look at me sometimes like, "Coach, you take this a little too serious sometimes," and I'm like, "No, I don't," because I know how important, how people lost their lives, and how people who like yourself just said, it's kind of like a traumatic experience. You still can hear that young lady who was trampled by their horse voice sometimes. And we have to take all of that in and understand that, hey, there's someone out there that has risked their life just so you can have a decent education and just so you can at least go through a drive-through and not go to the back door and be fed. So we have to take that in consideration. And I just want to say, man, thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And wholeheartedly, if I could wrap my arms around you, I'm gonna give you an air hug because I can't hold it right now. And Lord willing, I'm gonna come knock on your door for Christmas, and I'm gonna be your Christmas present since you're after.
You guys take care now.
Yes, ma'am. You
so
do,
Ms. Bland, and we appreciate you. And you all have a great night.
You too, son.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.